use guns. He has a no-kill rule. It's been very central to his character for a long, long time. And he's a master of he's a master of stealth, but he's also considered, the world's greatest detective. And honestly, there are elements of that haven't been consistent over the years. Like, I really feel like the Batman character has lost a lot of the detective aspects of him that made him very popular in the beginning. In fact, he debuted, we're going to talk today, but his debut, his first appearance in Detective Comics 27, the very name of the comic book.
And here we have a superstar who's been grinding his teeth at the Performance Center as of late.
Yeah, a consistent work ethic is what you're talking about, Michael. He's not someone who will
He never has been, and that dedication is what puts him in position to win time.
but you cannot overlook his opponent. As intense as they come. Not exactly the superstar you want to be standing across the room from.
The Batman movie that came out in 2023 did kind of go back to that. I was kind of glad to see them focus on that aspect rather than just being an action hero or a superhero. And that's another thing that's been somewhat different about Batman over the years. Is he is supposed to be a non-superhuman. Okay, he's just a regular human being. Now, he's for most of his history, he's been, he would have to be like an Olympic level athlete. He would have to be a high caliber of athlete. But honestly, as the years have gone on, he has taken a series of things that Batman does physically, even an Olympic level athlete would be hard pressed to do. And while he's never been, or seldom ever been,
He's
trained as superhuman, there have been aspects that have really put
nasty one right to the chest. He's fighting hard and it's pain. Yeah, this match is in his favor now.
How it started, what was the original idea for Batman? Was he all these things? The answer is no, he was relatively different. In fact, Batman in the very first issue and in the second issue, and there will be more to come, actually killed people. Now, he didn't outright murder, recklessly killed a few people along the way, and we'll talk about that. In fact, we'll follow Batman's kill count as we go through some of these issues and stuff, and we'll kind of see what the story was. Now, the golden age of comics was a much simpler storytelling era. Okay, the comics of the day of the modern era, much more complex. Comics back in the golden age, and really even to a larger degree in the silver age, were very much aimed at young kids. And so there wasn't the depth of storytelling involved. These were very simple stories, largely with very oftentimes outrageous aspects and required quite a leap of faith to believe some of the things. And so you can't read a comic from 1939 and apply today's sensibilities to it. You have to basically kind of, if you're going to canonize all this, and DC canon has changed tremendously over the years. Well, for one thing, Batman, one would be in his mid to late 20s when he first debuts. That was 1939. He would be a deceased person by this point in time. So, over the years, the DC continuity has been reset repeatedly, and we have been told at various times, well, these stories take place in an alternate world.
Oh, what's going to happen here?
And so you can't just set a solid canon of the things that happened in Detective Comics 27, which came out in May 1939, and apply them to things that are going on in the 2020s. It's just not logical to do so. But let's dive into Detective Comics 27, the first appearance of Batman. What was he all about? The story was the case of the chemical syndicate. And when we dive into these old Detective Comics stories, we're not going to look at the other anthology stories in there. We're going to focus specifically on Batman. And after several issues, we will be working in the Batman will get his own solo comic book, and then over the years, of course, we'll have various different appearances in other places. I'm using an assortment of chronologies which have been readily found online to kind of go through this to get sort of a good way of following the publishing appearances, the published appearances of Batman. So, looking at this Wikipedia page, to start with just basic information, and then I'll switch over to a article on Batman in Order #1, Detective Comics issue 27, 1939. You can check this out at windowschool.com. And I will put all these shows together in a collection on our Patreon page, which you can find there, and you can support our website as well. But the Wikipedia article says Detective Comics 27 is an American comic book of the Detective Comics anthology series, known for debuting the superhero Batman in a featured story called The Case of the Chemical Syndicate during the golden age of comic books. It is considered one of the most important and valuable first appearance debuts in DC Comics alongside Action Comics #1, released in the previous year. So Superman was already out in the world at this point. Action Comics #1 already came out the previous year. Comics had already been around in some form for a while before this. But certainly this struck a chord. Batman and Superman together really struck a chord with American society. You get also Captain Marvel will be coming along during this same time period. Later we have Captain America, Marvel Comics, Human Torch, and then a variety. Just seems like a variety of superhero type comics come out. The Flash, Green Lantern, and so on and so forth. And eventually, as time goes by, many of these people will cross over with one another as a sort of a continuity or a world starts building around these characters. I wrote in our article at whenitwascool.com, we began our Batman in Order series here, appropriately enough, in the very beginning with Detective Comics issue 27. These reviews will be less about the creators behind the scenes and the process of it all, and more about the story of the Batman, the character, and how he has changed and evolved and often represented or stood against common conventions of the time. Much has been written and discussed about the creation of the Batman character over the years, and I will leave that discussion to others, as I want our focus here to be about the Batman character itself. Batman was and is published by DC Comics. The character was created by artist Bob Kane and writer Bill Finger and debuted in the 27th issue of the comic book Detective Comics on March 30th, 1939. And then I have your first splash panel. So it's kind of a page wide panel. It says the Batman, and at that time it was spelled BAT-MAN. It was later combined to be just one word. We see the Batman in silhouette, with his cape extended, looking like bat wings. And the Batman costume, of course, famously started out with a little bit different look to it. Essentially, the design, the overall design hasn't changed that much. The bat ears kind of took a different positioning coming up. He had purple gloves originally in the beginning, and at times no gloves at all, and that would kind of change. But overall, it looks relatively like we remember Batman looking. The utility belt is drawn in Detective Comics 27, but it's not really addressed or the functionality of it explained until the next issue, and we'll talk about that when we get to Detective Comics issue number 28, where it starts explaining what the utility belt's all about. Really, he uses just a rope, a silk rope, it's said. And the cover of the issue shows him swinging by this rope in a very Batman-esque pose with his cape extended, holding we presume, a criminal around the neck as he flies by. So while there are nuances that change, the overall look of Batman remains largely recognizable. Detective Comics was originally an anthology series with an assortment of other detectives, athletes, police, and assorted other action crime stories. Batman is first featured in a story called The Case of the Case of the Chemical Syndicate. Superman had debuted in DC's Action Comics issue 1, released the previous year. We first meet Bruce Wayne, a young socialite, talking with his friend, Police Commissioner Gordon, when a call comes in for Gordon. So from the very beginning, the first panels where Batman's introduced, we get two characters that remain central to the story to this day, Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon. And originally, they're portrayed as friends. They are, Bruce Wayne's this rich socialite. He puts forth this personality of being carefree, if not lazy and slothful, disinterested. So why Commissioner Gordon has anything to do with this guy, the seemingly unlikable Bruce Wayne is not really drawn up in the story, but they're friends, and then basically Bruce sits and listens to Commissioner Gordon download police stories. But what we don't know, Gordon does not know this story, and you, the reader, do not yet know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. We will find that out at the end of this issue. It is a big reveal to the reader.
And there's an argument to be made that defending the title is even harder than winning it, wouldn't you say? Absolutely. You got your name in the history books. Now it's about what kind of legacy you're going to leave. And that comes down to how you respond to your challengers. He's returning fire and responds with a counter of their own. Overhand shot. Saw that.
He tells Commissioner Gordon that his father had 3 business partners: Stephen Crane, Alfred Stryker, and Paul Rogers. 3 very complicated names. Stephen Crane soon Lambert had received an anonymous death threat the previous day, and that he has received another one today, and is now fearing he too will be murdered. Bruce Wayne then ducks out. At this point, the reader is unaware that he is the Batman, who we will soon meet. The police go to Stephen Crane's house, but are too late. He has already been killed. Then we get to meet the Batman for the first time. We see him drawn into the story the very first time. He's standing there again, very recognizable. He's apparently already known by this point. The criminals are standing there, we look at him, and they explain the Batman. So we assume by this that there have been prior to this Batman adventures, Batman is at least established enough to have a reputation amongst criminals at this point. Stephen Crane's murderer meets his accomplice, and Stephen Crane's murderer meets his accomplice and shows him the contract which he stole. Suddenly, the Batman, which was originally spelled the Bat-Man, appears and defeats the 2 criminals and proceeds to investigate the contract. Paul Rogers, presumably not released into a bad company, who managed for 4 more years, goes to Alfred Stryker's house after hearing about the murders on the radio. Alfred Stryker's assistant, Jennings, forces Paul Rogers to sing "I Can't Get Enough of Your Love." I'm sorry, he actually forces him into a makeshift gas chamber in order to kill him. Batman also then shows up and saves Paul Rogers and defeats Jennings, or I suppose you could say sets him free.
Tossed into the ring.
We do classic rock music over Check that out. Retro Pop. Alfred Strocker then arrives and reveals himself to be the mastermind behind Lambert and Crane's murders. And he attacks Rogers, but Batman beats him too. Batman then reveals that Alfred Strocker wanted total control over the Apex Chemical Corporation and had hired the murderers to kill his business partners and steal the secret controls with him. Alfred Strocker tears free and tries to shoot Batman, who then punches Strocker right in the face, knocking him into an acid tank where he is killed instantly. Batman's no-kill rule doesn't come into effect until later on. This is Batman kill count number 1, and there'll be more, including in the next issue. We'll talk about it. Batman's not the least bit bothered by killing this guy either, as he says, quote, a fitting end for his kind, and then he bails out of there. There are no repercussions for this. Batman's not considered a criminal or anything like that for this. Again, these Golden Age stories are very statistic. You just can't overthink it. The next day, Commissioner Gordon talks to Bruce Wayne and tells him about the Batman. Bruce Wayne is indifferent to this information. However, it is then revealed, and this is the first time we find out, Gordon doesn't know, but we, the reader, find out that Bruce Wayne is, in fact, the Batman. And it's just basically revealed to us. There's drawn a door opening. It's talking about, behind this door then comes forth the Batman, and that he is, in fact, Bruce Wayne. We now, going forward, know this, and we'll be waiting for the next appearance in Detective Comics number 28. So, in our Batman timeline and chronology, you can follow the articles. They are up at windowschool.com. You check it out with the bookmark page. I'll be expanding this timeline as we move forward. So we got March 30th, 1939, the first appearance of both Batman and Commissioner Gordon in Detective Comics issue 27. And Batman's kill count so far is 1. We drop our next episode. We'll talk about Detective Comics 28. What first we have in that issue as well. And a very interesting story. I mean, this is actually windowschool.com. It's not only about remembering retro
Windowschool.com is about remembering history. Sometimes Windowschool is named.
Windowschool Podcast Network. Nostalgia, history, pop culture, sports, TV, movies.
True crime, stories, society, culture, and our place in it.
Movies, retro sports, toys, history, music, wrestling, and more.
Windowschool.com and the Windowschool Podcast Network.
Just hang on
Hey everybody, welcome to Windowschool.com. This is a special presentation, a review of the new movie, The Iron Claw, about the tragedy of the Von Erich Wrestling family.
These competitors have been unloading on each other since the bell. Just think what you're doing.
Tanya, hello. So Tanya is my wife, as many of you know this. She's my wife, not necessarily the wrestling family, no, correct?
Resilience of a champion on display. Everything kick right to the
you know a few of the famous people, Hulk Hogan, Ross, and
My granny watched it, and the more famous going on,
right, of course, I am an expert in wrestling history.
Here is your winner. International Wrestling Grand Prix. Intercontinental Champion.
Expert witness. So, wrestling history up on the front page of windowschool.com right now about this movie, which Tanya and I went and saw days ago. And if you want to know anything at all about the death of David Von Erich, his life in the preceding months, do check out the podcast, The Saga of the Death of David Von Erich. And then if you want a more contextual look at wrestling as a whole, get my book, the 1984-1985 Wrestling Omnibus. So, Tanya, you and I come at this from really two different directions. You came as just, somebody who's aware of pro wrestling. I'm kind of putting words in your mouth here. You didn't really have either a positive nor negative really about wrestling in general. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just something that I didn't think about. I didn't study on wrestling. I didn't, if my grandmother was watching it and I caught a glimpse of it, it was on my way from the outside to the kitchen and back or something, to that effect. It wasn't, I don't have, I'm not against it nor for it. I